Do not be afraid to ask for love. Have you not been surprised to find it, willing though unexpected, to pour into the reservoir of your joy, to present itself in such color as the morning that you caught by chance when awakened by thirst? How many days did you sleep through your longing, or walk the same path when your very cells demand color? Have you a whimper or a bold invitation? Offer either one. For years you have slumbered through ever-changing hues, alive and unveiled, yet unknown to your imagination. So now open for a moment to wonder. Let your heart dare to race. Determine the honest weight of your hesitation, and let the excess fall through your fingers. Let a deep desire lead you out into the light, and imagine what love might embrace you if you only dared to ask. My name is Karlee Patton. I'm 28 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon, and this is some of my story. I grew up in Arizona until I was about 8 years old. It's funny because a lot of times people ask me questions about Arizona when they find out I'm from there, but I don't really have an adult's memories of Arizona. I have child memories of Arizona. So I think about the lightning storms, and when it rained so hard that we would go outside and play in it, kind of like when it snows in Oregon, and the smell of the rain the next day, and just collecting bugs. All of these beetles would like come out of the woodwork when it was raining, and I loved to like pick them up in my hands and try to collect them in a pail. There's just so many things about the desert that I loved. A lot of people don't believe it, but I was really, really shy as a kid. I was extremely sensitive and felt all of the feelings, and I really wanted to experience life with other people and be close to other people, but I didn't really know how yet. So I was really affectionate and I liked to give gifts, but I didn't quite know how to engage people yet. I fell in love with writing basically as soon as I could hold a pencil in my hand, and I carried this notebook with me that had these sunflowers on the front, and I was always writing poems and musings about what it might feel like to be an animal. Writing for me was kind of a way to get inside someone else's head or get into a different perspective, and in that way, even from a really early age, I felt like I was connected to something bigger. Mundane. We sip black coffee and sink into the stillness of July's late morning, the windows at our backs reflecting the sun. The light falls like lazy snow to find rest on his eyelashes. The breeze lets up in order to hear itself think. I'm sure now that love isn't all spectacular, that life is mostly in between moments, quiet and unassuming. So to love someone completely, you must love them through the great mundane. You'll sit together through minutes that become months with no word so urgent to fill the space. You'll treasure his mere presence when he has nothing much to say, no story to impress, no sweeping gesture. Instead, you might study the side of his face, the way he lifts a cup to his lips and how his fingers dance in conversation. You might even count the seconds between his blinks. Perhaps you'll come to love those seconds. And if he's ever gone for long, you'll count softly to yourself, knowing somewhere his eyes are closing to a rhythm that you know by heart. College was a huge turning point for me in terms of my way of being and the way that I grew. So I studied journalism at the University of Oregon. There was this whole culture of sharing ideas and kind of pulling each other into awakening. And I loved that. It was a place where I came out of my shell a ton and became fiercely independent. And I was so happy to go places by myself all the time. I biked and I walked everywhere in the city and developed this really strong sense of place and sense of community. I could go places by myself all the time and just expect to run into people that I knew. I was so comfortable there. I remember taking this class in college called History of Jazz, and taking that class was the catalyst for me falling madly in love with jazz and soul and blues music. One of my favorite things to do was to bike down to the public library and spend hours just scouring their selection of jazz and blues CDs. It was really fun to see how different artists had covered each other's songs and to find a song that I love that, you know, someone else had done and it was just instrumental, or another vocal artist had decided to do their own take on another artist's song. I just took in so many ideas through choosing different classes and meeting new friends all the time and talking to strangers and having my mind totally just blown open. I felt like I was just bursting at the seams with discovery, and I wanted to pull other people into that with me. During those 4 years of living in Eugene, I kind of became like this snowball, just accumulating ideas and inspiration and new thoughts and people that I had come to love. That was a really formative time for me and kind of laid the foundation for who I decided I wanted to become as an adult. I think there's a sort of tension that happens in someone's soul when they make such a significant evolution. So when I was a kid, my way of being was so inside my head and contemplative, and most of my thoughts were thoughts that I had just by myself, and maybe I would put them down on paper but not necessarily share them with people. So becoming this person who is basically, as people know me now, someone who's very outward and extremely social, I forget sometimes that I wasn't born an extrovert, but my soul longs for me to go back to that place sometimes where I'm just quiet with my thoughts. I think it's really important to be able to have a space where you can express what you're feeling, but not feel like you have to filter it for other people. And so for me, I think that's why I've always loved writing, and I've always returned to it. Even when I have all these people in my life that I want to share all of these ideas with, and I want to know what everyone thinks about everything, there's something really powerful about being able to put my thoughts down on paper where I don't have to make sure that they're okay for people. They don't have to make sense to people. So I really like to encourage people who don't have writing as a normal practice in their life just to give it a shot. Something pretty amazing happens when you create this space where you can be completely honest about what you're thinking and about what you're feeling and not have to filter it for other people. And in that way, writing is this process of self-discovery, and it's something that is really transformative and even kind of sacred. I think you know that I could love you, far above feeling the right way, thorough. Kisses on your cheeks, sure, and fingers in your hair, but also the deeper endeavor, the journey through your arms and into your own reality, your dreams. To know your pain, hunt for roots, and craft a kind of medicine. Do you fear the full embrace of an intense kindness, of becoming an entire world, a place to live and breathe, explore and dig, your soil worked by loving hands, planting and pressing, whispers in the dark, your skin breaking. One day I could know so well your sight, and you mine. We notice colors once hidden in dusk, awaken to new seeing, never the same, and no longer blind. Arrows crossed, pushed and pulled, spun in a slow dance. Would you rather go alone or shallow? Will you watch from the window days break and descend and hope to stay unwavered, a windless planet unexplored? But you will be what you've chosen, beautiful and unknown, a stranger to great sacrifice, and maybe yet kissed, feverishly at first, and then with a sort of vacancy, two sets of eyes shut tight and seeing separate colors. Every day, I try to write at least 10 things that I'm grateful for, and I put them in this gratitude journal. I find that it helps cultivate joy.